Hello, this is the Purposeful Pedagogy, and I wanted to give a tutorial about this download that you purchased. I had started to type up instructions. I like to give instructions with a lot of the downloads just so you can know what was going on in my brain, although I try to create things that are very customizable to your needs or the needs of various teachers. But as I was typing it, I was like, this is getting a little lengthy. So I thought I would just do a quick video. So I'm going to flip through some things, and I'm also going to flip through the PowerPoint to show you how it works as well. So the download came with two things. It came with a PDF document and a PowerPoint document as well, or PowerPoint presentation. So I want to go through the worksheet. Now the worksheet is totally optional. I created it for my students just to have something to kind of build on for the game itself. So we just start with, identifying the four major types of germs, just so they understand really what the term germ means. I was a little bit shocked that they really have no clue. And most importantly, what the difference is between pathogenic and non-pathogenic, because that's really the purpose of the game, is to kind of go through that. And then classifying some, very common microbes and germs, and trying to determine which ones are pathogenic and non-pathogenic. The following ones here are going to be actually the ones that we use in the game. And I just thought it would be good for them to kind of learn a little bit about them and what diseases they cause. And then as well as I picked out three of sort of the most deadly, dangerous pathogens in history. And I believe this is according to, now I have forgotten, but it was a very reputable website, and I thought it was, really well done. So this is taken from that. So once they complete the worksheets and kind of we check off on that and talk a little bit about it, it's time to play the game. Now, what they're going to need is each student is going to need basically one of these like sleeves here. So you can cut along this darker dotted line and hand them out, and then I have them actually cut out their little individual pictures. So they get a germ of some sort. They also have an emoji, which we'll kind of discuss later. I always tell them that. I was like, the emoji means something, just kind of ignore it for now. But they each have four little squares of their germ as well. And so I have them cut those out. And then on my go, they're going to exchange them. Now, I have 10 germs, so if you have more than 10 students, they're going to be repeats, and that's fine. I actually think that works better because you end up infecting more people, and that makes the game a little bit fun. But in general, you're going to have at least 4 people to be infected unless you choose more than one germ to be pathogenic. So again, they get their little germs. Then on my go, they're going to exchange each one of their germs for another person's germ that is unique to them. So in other words, they can't exchange 2 with one student. So everybody's going to exchange. I tell them they're not allowed to look to see what they're getting, and they just have to accept whatever it is, because in the real world you don't get to choose which germs you come into contact with. So once I pass all these out and they exchange them, that's when we go to the PowerPoint, and it's set up to pretty much like run on its own, but there's a few little things here and there I think it's important. So we all kind of get settled back in the class, and I tell them to lay out their 4 tiles, and basically we're going to choose a pathogen we're going to choose a microbe to be pathogenic. So I just sort of keep this on the screen as they're like working, and then the next slide is going to be the one where we pick the one that's the pathogen. Now this slide takes a little while to pull up because behind these boxes are some pretty large JPEG images, and it just takes a while to pull up the slide because it's just a pretty large slide itself. So I chose to do this super random so that they wouldn't learn what's behind them and like choose for themselves, and because we actually play this game more than once pretty often, but it's truly random. So you're just going to click on the spin, and it's going to get your wheel spinning, which I think is kind of fun, and it allows it to be random. This is not a macro, so you don't have to worry about, a macro enabled document. And then I always have trouble with macros. This is just all in-house, done with animations. So I usually pick a student and let them tell me when to stop, and when they do, I hit the stop button, and this one happened to land on 4. Now, I have had it land literally right on the line, and we usually just spin again, or, you know, I pick one or the other or whatever, but this one just a little bit on 4. So all you're going to do is click on the 4, and it's going to reveal which of the germs we're going to say is pathogenic, which is the rhabdovirus here. A lot of times I'll actually pick 2 pathogens, so you can spin again and stop it again and select another one. So we got the coronavirus here. So that means any student that's sitting looking at their 4 tiles that contain either the rhabdovirus or the coronavirus are both now infected with that pathogen. So you could just stop there and be like, oh, you've been infected, but I thought it would be interesting to go a step further. And this is actually where I stop and I talk a little bit about prevention. And of course, the one thing that's brought up every time is to wash your hands. And I tell them that it's not just something that we preach that isn't true. It really is beneficial. So on the next slide, you just click anywhere that it's not hyperlinked. So anywhere it turns into an arrow, and it will take you to this slide. So the question is, okay, so yeah, you had the pathogen introduced to you, but there are ways to prevent you from actually getting infected from that pathogen, and one of those things is washing your hands, which again is always mentioned. So of the people who are infected, which at this point if you chose 2 pathogens, you now have at least 8 people or around 8 people who are infected. We're going to say that some of those people maybe wash their hands. So on this one, we're going to spin and again be nice and random. That way if you play it again, it's totally random again. And that's when they look on their sheet and see which emoji, excuse me, that they have, and they're all very similar, so you look pretty carefully. This is 4 of them, and they're repeated, so there's actually they get 2 chances for each time. So when somebody yells stop, I stop, and this one happened to land here on this particular smiley face. So if they were infected and they have this smiley face, then they're safe, and the goal of the game is to not be infected. So they get pretty excited about that, and they're like, you know, yay, I washed my hands, I didn't get infected. I even put a little statistic down here telling them, you know, really, it is statistically true that hand washing is great at, you know, preventing illnesses. But I decided to go one step further. And not only do you have to wash your hands, but you have to wash them properly. There was a statistic I saw somewhere that said 95%, and this is from the CDC, that 95% of people who wash their hands are not washing long enough. CDC recommends at least or around 20 seconds. I've seen between 15 and 20 seconds. So I decided to put a little red line right here, getting close to that 20 seconds. So what you're going to do is, of the people who are like, whew, I'm safe, I didn't, you know, I washed my hands. We're going to see if they washed their hands long enough. So what you're going to do is just click anywhere on the document, and this little arrow is going to slide up and down, and you're going to have one of those people yell stop, and when they do, oh, that one happened to, of course, stop right on the line. But when they do, if their arrow fell above the line, then they're still safe. If it fell below the line, then they're not safe, and they, you know, more than likely were infected. And this one fell right on the line, so we're going to give it to them. We're going to say, sure, you did it long enough, and those people are safe. So, and then I was just, you know, better luck next time kind of deal. My students love this game. I was a little hesitant to actually do it because when I created it, I thought this might be a little too elementary for high school, but I tried it with a class that, you know, does really well with games, and they absolutely love this game. And it doesn't take long. It doesn't take up a huge chunk of, you know, of my time, and so they wanted to play it again, so we ended up playing it again. They got their tiles back and then exchanged them again, and then we picked some new ones. So if you want to, you can just exit out of, there it goes, of the PowerPoint and just restart it. Click back on the first slide and restart it, and everything will reset back to normal. And you can, this slide takes forever, pull up the slide again, spin again, and then select a new pathogen, salmonella, and And again, herpes simplex. Now, again, you can do 3 if you want to. There's one that felt like almost on the line. I probably would have chose like 7 for this one. You know, usually you just go with it. So you could even pick 3 and really, you know, infect a lot of the class. So it's up to you how many numbers you want to choose. That's why I did the wheel to spin just an unlimited number of times. So, and then, you know, just kind of go through all these again as well. So that is it. Hopefully this activity works out well for you. I know infection control can sometimes have you know, teaching about germs and infection control and chain of infection and all that can get a little heavy sometimes. So this is just a little fun thing to kind of throw a different wrench in the day, as well as just a worksheet to kind of expand their knowledge on the naming of some of these viruses and things like and bacteria and protozoa and fungi and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully you enjoy it. But if you have any problems, please don't hesitate to send me an email or contact me through the site where you purchased it. My email is purposefulpedagogymail@gmail.com. Feel free to let me know if you have any issues, and I'll be glad to look at that or walk you through